Welcome everybody to another episode of the GovAssociation webcast where we talk about how to win government contracts. It's good to see everybody here. Thank you for joining us. Some of you are joining us live. It's good to have you here. And then some of you you're going to be watching this on replay. That is awesome as well. In today's episode, this is a normal coaching session, and our coaching student, our company that we've been coaching, she has a family emergency, so unfortunately, that's the case. But here is the good news. The good news is you guys have me all to yourself. So joining us live, we will be covering a lot of awesome things today. And what we're going to be covering today is we're going to be talking about your short-term strategy. What is the quickest way to winning government contracts? So that's what this podcast is going to be about. So with or without Vicky, who is our entrepreneur that we've been coaching and helping her business, all of you have access to me today. So as we're going through, I'm going to be sharing some really important things with you. How to win government contract. What is the fastest way for you to win government contracts? And as I'm sharing that, feel free to ask questions on the chat area. We will be covering that and giving you guys some insights in terms of the best strategies to winning government contract fast. So if you're excited about that, let me know. Put in the chat that you guys are here, excited to learn what's the fastest way to win government contracts. So that would be awesome. We will be sharing my screen. We're going to be talking about a few tools with that as well. So thank you for joining us on this webcast here in terms of how to win government contracts. And so we're going to be diving in. So with that, I'm going to do a little intro. For some of you who's not familiar with me, you're joining us for the first time. My name is Abraham Shong. I am the founder of the Government Contractors Association, as well as a technology company called GovGenie. And these are tools and resources to help you to help you to access more opportunities, contract opportunities. I love the government contracting industry. If I wasn't married, I would be married to government contracting itself. The goddess of government contracting, her name is called Governese. And sometimes my family, they have to say, hey, you have a family here. Don't get sucked into the world of government contracting. But I love this industry here. It's a wonderful world. It has the power to change your lives. Government contracting, this industry, there's a few equalizers in life. If you were born with access to wealth and you have generational wealth from your grandfather to your father to you, that's awesome. That's not most people. You can have another great equalizer is you are a professional athlete. Maybe you're super talented and you pursue a path as a professional athlete and you made it. That's another equalizer in life to where it doesn't matter where you come from, you can make it in athletics and so forth. Few other things like in terms of entertainment or the music industry or technology, right? You can start a new startup technology company, and in 3-4 years you can become multi-million-dollar corporation. Well, the greatest equalizer that's available to everybody is the government market itself. In this industry here, you have access to the same resources that everybody else will have access to. You do not need to have anything special about you. All you have to do is start a business, get registered as a vendor, get procurement ready, and submit proposal and win. So that's really, one of the very few things in life that everyone have access to. It doesn't matter if you come from wealthy family, doesn't matter what industry you are, doesn't matter if you have an education or not. Everybody can start a business and be successful in the government market. So that's why I love this industry here in terms of being a great equalizer. Now, there is a path of how you go from very little revenue. In about 3 to 4 years, you will start to hit the multi-million-dollar level, which we call hockey stick growth, right? The first few years, you're getting by, you might get a few projects, but typically you'll see a hockey stick growth in about year 3 or year 4 in the government industry itself. In fact, let's look at a few examples of companies that have done that there. So I'm going to share my screen. and we're going to go and look at a few companies. So if you guys are excited about seeing a few companies, put in the chat that let us know. That'd be great to see some companies. Okay, so we have a few people. Some of you just started your business. That's awesome. And the government market is a place where you can do that there. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a few examples of company that has done the hockey stick growth. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can do the same by talking about the fastest way to winning government contracts. So that's what we're going to be doing in this episode. So let me go ahead and start by sharing my screen here. All right. And 1 second as I'm moving things around a little bit here. Okay, so I'm going to just share with you a few companies that have done the hockey stick growth. So I'm going to come to USA Spending. So this is the main portal for some of you. This should be one of your favorite websites that you often come back to. For some of you, if you're not familiar with this is the portal. As citizens of the United States, the government created usaspending.gov so that it can publicly show how they're spending your taxpayer money, right? So this is a portal where you can kind of publicly see who's receiving grants, who's receiving contracts, who's receiving federal assisted loans. So that's what this portal is for. If you come down here, you can see where it says award type. You can see what type of contracts and what type of opportunities people are receiving. We're mainly just going to look at contract. This portal is predominantly for contract purposes. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to pull in here a pull up a Sumi Krishnan. All right, so Sumi Krishnan is a government contractor. Let me see. And her company is called K4 Solutions. She's been in the government market for a good number of years, but she started government contracting when she was 19 years old. Can you imagine that? What were you doing when you were 19 years old? Some of you, you're like, hey, you know what? I'm just trying to figure out, what I'm going to do in life. Some of you just like, should I have a girlfriend or boyfriend? Some of you are just trying to figure out life. But she started her government contracting business when she was 19 years old. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at her company and see what she did as a 19-year-old young lady and in the government space itself. So I'm going to come to USA Spending. I'm going to put in recipient. I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to hit search. And then I'm going to submit, and we'll look at a quick view of what she's done. And when I come in here, you can see these are the different contracts that she's won. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the time, right? Because this is, oops. I'm going to look at the time because this will give us a little bit more perspective. So she did 7 million in 2009, 6 million, 14 million, 13 million, 17 million. And then she graduated out of the 8A program because the 8A program is only 9 years. So she got into the program, and then you see how her revenue started to fluctuate a little bit. But so she's consistently doing about 10 million or so. But that's, and so you can get in and go in and, grow your company. I'm going to show you another company. Now, this company, K4 Solution, I don't know Sumi. I just know of her story. I'm going to share with you guys a company that I actually had the privilege to work with her and support her in the early days of her business. And now she's, very successful in the government market as well. So her company is called Visionary Construction. So we're going to look at her company, and we're going to see the the growth of her company. So when you first start, right, you're struggling, right? You're just trying to get by. Very little contract opportunities, but then you start to see this growth, right? You start to see this growth here. And so she's doing about $11 million right now. So you start to see, this trajectory. And we can, not everybody will start to hit the $1 million. You have to apply yourself, you have to invest, you have to get procurement ready. There is a process to doing all this here. But these are some examples of company. Let's look at this is let's look at another example. So now this is a big company. Again, this is just an example. I did not work with this company here. I did work with Visionary, but I want to give you some examples of different companies. So Atlantic Diving Supply. Now, with a company named Atlantic Diving Supply, if you have to guess what they sell, what do you think they sell? Right? They sell, of course, they sell diving supply, but they sell beyond that. So if you look at this company back in 2008, because the database only goes back, you can see they in 2008 they were doing about 345 million, and then they started going up. They did 4.6 billion in 2023. Now, if we come to their website, adsinc.com, and come to their website and look at all of their suppliers. And I'm just going to randomly choose a company. I'm going to go to V for Victory. And let's see. So they have two companies that are two manufacturers that they sell in the government market. So this company, they sell different software, and they sell some 3D solution, Vidisco. Not sure what this. This is a shield system. So this is a model, right? You work with manufacturers. Manufacturers, they manufacture things. They don't always know how to sell to the government agency. So they work with companies like ADS. And you can see that they're doing about $4.6 billion in contracts. And so build your business, take your time and get to it. And then, a few years, some of the early years will be a little tough, but you will hit the hockey stick growth. So that's the model. So how do you win contract fast? That's really what we're going to be talking about today. So if you are watching this episode here, we're going to share with you how do you win contract fast. In our software, our GovFastTrack software, if you're not familiar with the GovFastTrack software, this is our step-by-step blueprint in terms of what you need to do to win contracts. And so we go from, it's just step by step. We talk about your business infrastructure. We talk about, your promotional product, your business name, your marketing, your capability statement. We put templates and resources in here. If you want to learn more about what that is, just go to govfasttrack.com and learn more about the software. So this is the software here. But I'm going to come in here. I'm going to show you in here, under this here, under assessment, we put in here a class where we talk about under strategy. Well, we talk about the fastest way, best short-term strategy for your business. So you see all these attachments over here. This is a document, and I'm going to be using this document to share with you how to win contract fast. So with that, I've already pulled it, and so I'm going to pull up my document here. Top contracting strategies in terms of how to win contract fast. So this is what we're going to be going through here. So let's talk about these three markets, right? The B2C, B2G, or B2C, B2B, and B2G. Put in the chat if you know what B2C is. What is B2C? Let's some of you B2C. Now you may be in B2C as a company. You might be at a B2C company. You might be at a B2B company. And all of you, you're here because you want to be a B2G company, right? So anybody know B to C, or how about B2B? Business to customer. Okay. So Suyan, yeah. Sufan, yes. B to C is business to consumers or business to customers. It's more consumers. And consumers meaning individuals. So, for example, if you were selling um, a cell phone, as a cell phone, if you were a cell phone repair company, right? That's more business to consumers. Now, consumers can be other business, but if you're selling directly to business, it would be B2B, which is the definition of B2B. But if you're selling it, to B2C, if you let's assume you do lawn care, right? You cut grass, uh, you have a lawn care business, and you're selling to residential clients. That would be B2C because you're selling to consumers. If you're selling to businesses, your lawn care company, you're selling to other business, that would be B2B, your business to another business. And so you can be in two industries, and that's fine. But B2G is really what we're talking about here, business to government. And so we're going to be talking about the best strategy, short-term strategy for business to government in terms of how to win contract, how to access all these opportunities here. Now, yeah, I'm a little red today because of the lighting, and so I've got my red hat and I got my pink shirt. So if I'm a little red, that's because the setting is making a little bit more red today. It's not because I got some sun over the weekend. So let's talk about B2G, B2G, business to government. Now, under this here, there are three things that I want to address. So the first thing is B2G is you're just selling your services directly to government. This is what everybody wants, but this is the wrong strategy. To be direct to the government, to be the prime, when you're the prime to the government, that's not the best strategy when you're new. Here's why. If you're new to the government market, first you have to speak Governese. Nếu nói mấy tuần trước cũ cả cái chạy ô là cho là thăm bà mấy chủ bao cái cho lưu ha cho culture ha bao một sĩ thản du contracting officer cho mấy chỉ bao ha lưu Governese mấy cho chance of yin contract in the government is very small, right? Anybody understand what I just said? That's the mấy tuần trước cú cả cái cha ô hở cho đó tháp bà nu no cú sa mo so contract do me ya me chante lên từ chante ta sẽ cú mo so cho nhá cho có. Anybody understand? No. Some of you don't speak my ethnic language, which is Hmong, Hmong. So I'm from a small community of people, in the U.S. It's called the Hmong people. So some of you know the Hmong community. Let me know if you have a friend or if you know associates or anybody who's in the Hmong community. But what I just said is this here. I said that if you're interested in the government market, you have to learn the culture, the language, learn how to speak Governese. And also, if I work for the government, if you raise your hand, I will sole source you a contract today. But if you don't speak the language, it's hard to be B2G, right? B2G means you speak the language. B2G also means that you understand rules and regulations. The FAR, FAR. What is the FAR? Put in the chat. What is the FAR? Anybody know what the FAR is? FAR. It's over 2,000 pages. Let's see. See if anybody got that. The FAR is your contracting Bible. It is the Federal Acquisition Regulation. It contains all the rules that a contracting officer and an agency have to abide by when they are purchasing from you, from your business. So this is a very important principle in terms of learning the culture, learning the language, learning the regulations, all of that. And what we haven't talked about getting procurement ready yet, right? You still have to make sure that you have the right NAICS code. You have to be registered as a vendor. You have to have the right marketing tools. You have to have, your website has to be government friendly. You have to have all these different things. So being a prime to the government requires time. That's why it takes about 2 to 3 years to become good at it. So when you're new, what you really need to do is, what's the fastest way to win contract without being the prime? So that's where this other technique comes in, right? B to B to G. So B to B to G means business to government. What that means practically is you are a tier 1 subcontractor to a prime. So the prime knows how to win contracts. You're new in the government market. So your first strategy is to be a subcontractor. That's your first strategy in the government market. Why is that important? When a large company, when they win a contract over $750,000, they must subcontract 35% to small businesses. That's, go read the FAR, right? That's part of the clauses. That's part of the goals. Agencies have a goal. Some agencies, it's higher than 35%. Some industry, it's higher. Like construction, it might be higher than 35%. And then there may be some, some other industry that may be a little bit lower than 35. But in general, when a large company wins a contract, they must subcontract 35% to small businesses. So inherently, you can use the B to B to B approach, right? So the B to B to G, being a tier 1 subcontractor to a prime is a great strategy. Very, very important strategy. But let's continue. There's another technique that you have to consider, right? Which is this here. B to B to B to G. This means you're a tier 2 sub to a tier 1 sub to the prime. So let me illustrate this here. So in a B to B to G is this here, right? The prime is the company that has the direct access to government agencies here. They know how to speak the language. They know the culture. They know how to write proposals. They know how to price. They know how to, how to connect with agencies and build solutions for agencies. If you are a B to B to G, if you're using this model here, then you are a sub or a supplier to the prime. This is a very good strategy to start. A better strategy, because this here requires you knowing how to find primes and who these companies are. So another strategy is down here. Is you not being the prime itself, you're the sub to the prime. But if we extend that, then this is really another technique right here. You are this red box here. You are the tier 1 sub. You have tier 2 subs, and you work with the prime. So some people call this here being a middleman. Middleman is a bad term. I will refrain all of you. There are some internet gurus that's teaching you what's called a middleman technique, and you don't want to use that term because if you use that term, you can get in trouble with the government. So anyone that's teaching you middleman technique, the principle is true, but the terminology can get you in trouble. You're really being a subcontractor. That's really what you're being, or you're being a supplier to the prime. Or if you are the tier 1 sub, you are the middleman to these tier 2 subs here. And so, but never use those terminology because you can get in trouble with the government. Government does not like pass through. Let's talk about this here for a second. What is pass through? Pass through is when you win a contract with the government. In this example here, you are the prime, you win a contract with the government, and you provide no value, and you pass through, and the subcontractor does all the work. You don't do any invoicing, you don't do any, you add no value to the process, and it's just a straight pass through. The government does not like that. In fact, potentially some contract specifically, if you're not adding any value, the potentially can get you in trouble. So never, you're never going to be a middleman. What you're going to be is you're going to be a prime or you're going to be a sub. If you are the prime, you're going to add value to it. You're going to actually manage the contract. you're actually going to put the project manager. So for example, if you're the prime, the sub, you will tell the sub that, hey, we're going to provide the project manager, and you would do some of the technical work itself. But the PM, the project manager or the program manager, belongs to your company, because now it's not a pass through, right? Because you're adding value to it. You're actually managing the project. You're actually involved in the process. You're actually handling the HR. You're handling the compliance. You're handling other things. And so a true middleman strategy is really can get you in trouble. So, but let's come back here. So we're talking about tier one. So the prime wins the contract. You add value to the prime, and you are tier one sub. You may even have tier two subs. So this is one strategy. This is a good strategy when you're starting new. Let's talk about another strategy here. Uh, for many of you, you will not be the prime. You will not even be a tier one sub. You might be a tier two sub, and that's okay. Also, being a tier two sub is perfectly fine. 70% of government contracts require two or more companies to fulfill the obligation of the contract itself or the statement of work on that project. So as a business, you know that when you're in the government market, you're going to be working with other companies. These primes, they understand that they're going to be working with other companies. It's normal. There's nothing wrong with multiple companies coming together, providing a solution to the government. Now, how you do that is the prime. Are they the solo company being the prime, or do they have teaming partners, and do they have subcontractors in this situation? So this is really my number one tip to you if you're new in the government market is, while you're learning to be a prime, the fastest way to win a contract is be a tier one or tier two sub. Be a tier one or tier two sub. Don't, being the prime is takes longer. It takes about 2 to 3 years to speak Governese, to understand the culture, to learn to write effective proposals. So let's talk about some additional short-term strategies, right? You guys want to hear some more short-term strategies? I've got a whole list here. Now, if you stay to the end of this podcast here, I'm going to show you how you're going to get this list here. I'm going to make this list available to you so that you can keep this list and use it to help you in your contracting journey. So stay to the end of this podcast here, and I'm going to show you how you can get access to this specific document that I'm sharing with you. No cost, just for staying to the end, you're going to get access to this here. All right, so let's talk about short-term strategies. Number one, I just mentioned, right? Be a subcontractor. You can be a subcontractor tier one or tier two or even tier three. Let me share with you a true story. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to share a true story about this gentleman. I was doing a class and teaching him this specific technique. And so he went out there and come back. So this is a gentleman. His name is Marcus. He has a technology company. So I'm teaching this technique, right? Don't be the prime. It takes too long. Be the sub. So Marcus, he's out there networking, talking to a company, and trying to tell them, hey, I'm a technology company, IT company. We're really good at cybersecurity, and the company he was talking to, they like him, but they say, well, we're not necessarily looking for any specific IT work right now, but so this may not be a fit. So Marcus said, well, what are you looking for? And the guy said, well, we're looking for some low voltage wiring. Anybody know what low voltage wiring is? Put it in the chat if you know what low voltage wiring is. So Marcus said, oh yeah, we have a division that can handle low voltage wiring. Of course, he does not have a division, but in the moment, because as a business owner, you can decide in the moment to have a division. So he's not lying to the guy. As the business owner, he has the authority, right? He's the CEO of his own company. He has the authority to build a division in that moment. So he said, yeah, we have a division that handles low voltage wiring. The guy said, oh, you do? He said, yeah. And so Marcus said, send me the statement of work of what you're looking for, and I can get you a quote on it so that we can be a sub to you. So as it turns out, that company, they were a tier one sub. So this is on a Air Force base. Verizon had the master contract, the big contract, to put in IT infrastructure, telecommunication infrastructure, Wi-Fi and internet services on a Air Force base. They sub out the work to this other company as a tier one sub, and then Marcus became a tier two sub to the company. But Marcus, let's see if nobody put in what low voltage wiring is. Okay, so let me tell you guys what low voltage wiring is. It's the Ethernet jack that goes into the wall. So you can use Wi-Fi as part of your bandwidth, or you can actually run wires through the wall and you connect that to your laptop. And now Wi-Fi is pretty fast, so you don't need a true hard line like that. But hard line, direct connection to a hard connection like that is faster. And so the speed is faster doing that way. So there are some scenario where you want to be hardwired because it's faster in those situations. So Marcus went and reached out to a few people he knows that does low voltage wiring, and they gave him a price. He gave a price to the tier, because he's tier two. He gave a price to the tier one company. The tier one company said, "Yep, let's do it." And so that's how he got his first contract. Not as a prime, not even as a tier one, not even as in an area that he has very little knowledge about. And then he used a tier three sub to do the work. So prime, tier one, Marcus tier two, and he used a tier three to do the work itself. Does that make sense in terms of this technique of how to win contract fast by being a subcontractor? Now let's go on to number two. Start with micro purchases. Micro purchases are anything under $10,000. You can also start with credit cards, right? Credit cards is anything under $25,000. A contracting officer or a program manager or a director of an agency, they have authority at the federal level. Now, I'm speaking all this here, I'm speaking probably 90% of this here from the federal perspective. Some of this here is true for state and local as well. But as it relates to micro purchases and credit card purchase, this is at the federal level. So micro purchase is anything under 10,000. A contracting officer, program manager can just say, "Hey, FB, can you send me this to me?" And then you're done. Or they can just say, "Hey, Orlando," or I think it's Orlinda, "I want this." Do a purchase order, and it's done. Micro purchases are very easy. So this is a very good place to start. Credit card purchases, almost the same thing as a purchase order. They can just swipe a credit card from your website and done. And then you also want to consider simplified acquisition procedures, or what we call SAP. SAP are the regulation says that anything under $250,000, a contracting officer in an agency must make every effort to buy from small businesses. Let me say it again. Every project under $250,000, the contracting officer have to make every effort to buy from a small business before they go out to large companies. That's to your advantage as a small business owner. You can't compete against the big guys. So what you want to look for is you want to look for projects that's under 250,000 and go get those projects. Let me share with you another true story, company I work with. So this company is Zoom. This is not the Zoom that we know. This is the Zoom before there was a Zoom. So she's the original company. Her company's called Zoom. So she was bidding on a project to take in a water filtration, water waste management, industrial waste management facility, they filter all the water, they capture all the toxicity and debris, and whether it's toxic or not, they capture all of that, they form it into a brick, and then a waste remediation company will pick that up and dispose of properly so that it doesn't go back into the environment and contaminate other water resources or other elements in the environment itself. So they put out a bid. They wanted someone to haul these here into a facility that can contain that waste for long-term storage purposes. So she's a small business. So she said, Abe, I want to bid on this project. I said, yeah, let's talk it through. So she submitted the proposal, and about a month and a half later, I said, how's the project coming? She said, oh, I didn't win. I said, well, what do you mean you didn't win? And she said, well, it's this other company won it. And so, yeah, we came in second. I said, okay, well, let's look at the other company. We looked at the other company, and the other company was this here, Synagro. The other company is Synagro. Now, why is this important? So let's do this here. If you want to know information about a company, you put in the business name and you put in the word Zoom Info. Now, some of you are subscribers to Zoom Info already. You don't have to do this here. If you just put in the company name and put in Zoom Info, you can access the information without having to pay for it until you're ready to pay for it. I'm not saying don't invest in your business. What I'm saying is, if you're limited in your resources, I'm showing you free techniques of how to get information, right? So this company is Synagro. Guess what? $326 million. Is this a small business? No, right? This is not a small business. So why is this important? Because the project that Zoom Info submitted the proposal on was a SAP, Simplified Acquisition Procedure. It was under 250,000, and she was a small business, and the requirement said it was a small business set aside. It was less than 250,000, and this large company won the contract. And so she said, hey, what should I do? I said, well, first of all, you're a small business, and the contracting officer violated procurement regulations. That's why it's important to understand rules and regulations, right? It helps you. If you don't know, it hurts you. But if you know, it can help you. So this situation, I guided her. I said, well, first of all, you want to reach out to the contracting officer, and you don't want to accuse the contracting officer of wrongdoing, right? Because that doesn't help with relationship. So this is the technique we use. We reach out to the contracting officer and we said, we got notification that we weren't the awardee on this here. But I just have a question, because looks like the award, the company that did receive this award, they're a large company. And I believe the requirement on this here, this was a small business set aside. So now either the contracting officer didn't know, or the contracting officer violated procurement regulations. But we raised it as a question because we didn't want to burn that relationship, right? We want to give some room for maybe they made a mistake, honest mistake. Or maybe now the truth is, this company was more qualified than Zoom Inc. Zoom Inc. she's a one-woman operation trying to build a small company and trying to get going, right, at that time. And so now she's got more people helping her, but at that time, she's a solopreneur. She has no vehicles, no capabilities outside of subbing out the work to somebody else. So she has partners, but she didn't have her own internal infrastructure, in terms of what we call self-performance, right? She didn't have self-performance capabilities. So by raising this question with the contract officer, say, hey, oh, by the way, this seems to be like a large company, and this is a small business set aside. The contractor said, oh, you know what? You're right. And so this is the second technique that I suggested that Sharon, who owns Zoom Inc., I said, what you want to do is you want to ask the contracting officer that, is it okay if I team up with Synagro and they can be my teaming partner, and we as a small business can still provide the value to you that way? So the contract officer said, okay, that sounds like a good plan. If you can come back to me and set up the teaming arrangement, I we will re-award the contract to your small business. And that's what happened. So she reached out to Synagro and she said, hey, would you be interested in teaming with us? The contract officer told Synagro that because this is small business set, they couldn't do it. So she talked to Synagro. Synagro became the subcontractor to her small business. They made some money. She made some money. Contractor officer got, the company that they wanted to work with. Everybody wins in this situation. And contractor officer didn't get in trouble. Why? Because we chose not to accuse the contractor officer of ill intent, right? We gave some room for maybe they made an honest mistake. Because if you go there angry, why didn't we win this project? And man, I'm going to come and sue and protest this project, and you're going to get fired. That doesn't win any favors, right? Um, so always think long term. Don't go for the shortcut. The shortcut is you get angry, you accuse the contract officer of bad faith and all these different things here. Go in there and curry favors with these people here. So very important technique in terms of what I just shared with you here. Not everybody understand that you always have to look long term, even though you're in the short term. So let's come back to our list here. We got a lot more to cover on our list. So that's simplify acquisition. Strategy number 5. Let me expand this a little bit so y'all can see a little bit. So number 5 is you got to build a capture team. What's a capture team? A capture team is a proposal writer, a capture manager. Who's a capture manager? A capture manager is your business development person. This is your relationship manager. This is your salesperson. In the government market, we don't call it sales, BD, business development. We call it capture management. And the person behind capture management is your capture manager. So you need HR who understands DCAA compliance, who understands rules and regulations. You need a CPA. You need a legal team that understands protests and procurement regulations. You need teaming partners with other small business. You need a board of advisors. What's a board of advisor? Board of advisor is not a board of directors. A board of directors is someone that can fire you from your own company. Board of advisors, they give you advice. They don't have fiduciary responsibility. They don't manage the company. They just give you advice in terms of what you can do to be better. And think of board of advisors as mentors instead of directors. Directors can fire you from your own company, whereas mentors, they give you thoughts and advice and so forth. Step number 6, build past performance. Most projects require 3 or more references. In the commercial market, we call it case studies. We call it references. We call it clients and portfolio. In the government market, we use the term past performance. When you submit a proposal, most of the time, past performance is going to be you need 3 within the last 3 years. Well, if you're new in the government market, you don't have past performance. So how are you going to submit a proposal when you can't give 3 past performance references? So you have to start with small projects, right? You have to go after the micro purchase, the credit card purchases, the SAP opportunities. The good news is if you don't have past performance, you can use your teaming partner's past performance. That's correct. As a small business, the rules and regulations permit you to use a teaming partner's past performance, or another word for teaming partner, a subcontractor past performance. So that's really key. When you're new, one of your goals is to build some network and build some relationship with other companies so that you can borrow their past performance. Now, when you're writing the past performance, you're not lying to the government. Said these are my past performance. My company did this work. That's not what you're saying. In your proposal response, you're going to say, my company ABC has teamed up with company DEF. Collectively, we present the best solution to the government. This past performance is with my teaming partner, company DEF, and these are the references, these are the point of contact, this is the email, this is the phone number that you can call to verify this information. So when they call to verify the data, they're not saying is your company, they're saying DEF, your teaming partner. So they're going to say, hey, did DEF perform on this project? That's how you want to set it up. And if you don't set it up correctly, and the contractor is going to think is yours, and they're going to say, hey, did ABC do work on this project? And they say, well, we have no idea who ABC is, and you're going to be non-compliant on the proposal there. Also, right, you can also use past performance from commercial projects, from the private sector. And some of you, it's better to start your company in the commercial market because there's less rules and regulations, there's less compliance, there's less requirement, and typically there's not a lot of proposal writing in the commercial market. But if you have commercial experiences, you can use those as well. And then you can also use tier 1 as a sub. You can use your tier 1 subcontracting references as well, and tier 2 as well, but tier 2 is not as strong. Tier 1 is generally acceptable in most situations. Tier 2, because you got the prime, you got tier 1. Now there's a tier 2. It's a little bit harder to use tier 2 to validate information and so forth. So typically, if you're the prime direct, or if you're the tier 1, most of those past performances should suffice in meeting the requirement of 3 within 3 years. Let's go to the next items. Strategy number 7 in terms of how to win contract fast, right? You want to start by going after your strategy around profit. When you're new, profit should be low priority. High profit margin is a later strategy. So you want to use low profit margins to get your foot in the door, build relationship, go after projects, even though you make less profit. Make sure you guys understood that. When you're new in the government market, you're not trying to maximize profit. You're trying to build past performance. You're trying to build a relationship. You're trying to get your foot in the door because those things are more important than profit early on. Once you have enough past performances, then you go after, profit and so forth. Increase your profit margin. So the Fed, 80%, as you're doing this here, you should focus on more around Fed versus SLED. So your strategy, and now for some of you, it's the reverse. But for most people, if you're not sure, do I focus on the Fed or do the SLED? Which is the right mix? I would have to say 80% should be Fed, 20% should be SLED. Now, who knows what SLED stands for, right? Fed stands for federal. What is SLED? This is your governor's word for the day. SLED. Anybody know what SLED is? It's not Rudolph and the sled, right? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. That's not the sled we're talking about. Anybody know what SLED is? You guys with me? Nobody know what SLED is? Come on, somebody knows what SLED is. State, local, and education. Woohoo! All right, Effie, speaking governese. That's good stuff. So SLED stands for state, local municipalities, counties, and cities, and then education. Education, county school system, private sector school system, university systems. They buy a lot, and they buy through, most of these, they receive funding from the federal government. And so they have to uphold to federal standards. And so because of that, SLED has a procurement process. A purchasing person and with the border regions, whether it's the Minnesota border regions or the Georgia border regions, the border regions govern they're the administrative arm of the university system. and the decision makers there. So the board of regent can they can't just say, oh, I want to award this to my best friend Billy Bob over here. They have to go through procurement process, just like federal agencies and state agencies and city agencies and so forth. So SLED, state, local, and education. You start out with Fed because Fed, 60% of Fed is best value and 40% is LPTA. What is best value? If you know what LPTA is, put it in the chat. Let us know what LPTA is. I'm going to explain what best value is. Best value, sometimes they call it trade-off. Trade-off. So best value means that they are looking for the most qualified company. The company that have the best solution, the company that have the best technical approach, the company that has the best management team, the company have the best experience. They're looking for best value. 60% of federal spending is awarded based upon best value. 40% of it is on LPTA. So what is LPTA? Anybody got LPTA? LPTA, lowest priced, technically acceptable. Sometimes you just hear lowest price, but at the state, local level, they just go by lowest price. But at the federal, they have a different acronym. It's called LPTA, lowest price, technically acceptable. Because you still have to, technically acceptable means just because you have the lowest price doesn't mean you're going to win. So for example, the requirement says you have to have 3 past performance. Well, somebody, let's assume it's a project and one company has it for 100,000 and another company submitted a proposal at 90,000. The 90,000 is the lower price, but that doesn't mean they win a contract automatically. Why? Because they're not necessarily they may not meet all the requirements. They may not have 3 past performances. They might not have, the requirement might say you need to have 5 years experience for your project manager. And the project manager may only have 3 years experience. So they still have to be technically acceptable, meeting the technical requirements. So federal is usually the best place. Now, again, if you're not sure, some of you, your product or your services may be better for SLED. If that's the case, you start with SLED. But I generally say focus on Fed. And the number one reason for Fed is because they have set aside contracts for small business. They have sole source for small business. So that's why Fed is a little bit better. Now, state and local, they have sole source too. They have something, most states have the DBE program. Well, all states have the DBE program, the DBE certification, where they work with small businesses. 10% is typically set aside for DBE for small businesses. But at the federal, it's 23% set aside. And state may have sole source, but sole source might be $100,000. Sole source at the federal level is $4.5 million for civilian agencies and $8 million for DOD. So if you have the same amount of time, same amount of energy to go and build relationships so you can win a sole source contract, are you going to build a relationship to win a $100,000 sole source contract? Or are you going to build a relationship to win a $4.5 million sole source contract? In fact, I'm working with 2 companies now, bringing 2 companies together, and they're going to be receiving in a sole source contract for $4.5 million. So these things happen, right? We're not talking about theories here. We're talking about real happening to small businesses out there, and you can be part of that journey as well. You can, get your business in a place, get procurement ready, keep coming to these podcasts, keep coming and learning how to speak Governese, learning how to understand the culture, learning about best value, LPTA, and what's the right strategy. These things here matters long-term. It helps you long-term. So let's talk about the next consideration in terms of winning contract fast. It's getting small business certifications. Now, many of you think that small business certification is number one. You notice it's not number one, right? Technical capabilities by being a small subcontractor is more important than even certifications. But certification is absolutely important. It's not the best strategy. Why? Because To get your 8A certification, it could take you 9 months to 12 months to get it. So what are you gonna do? Just sit on your hands until you get your small business certification? No, there's other techniques that you need to do before you get your certifications. Getting your women's certification could take you 6 months to 9 months to get that. Getting your DBE, your MBE and your WSB and your Hub Zone, your STUSB, all these certifications takes time. So, but you need it. So getting your small business certification is important. That's a great way of how you break into the government market. It helps you with your short-term goals. Or you can team. If you say, I don't qualify for any small business certification, that doesn't mean you cannot bid or go after set aside contract for certified companies. You need to team with a company that have certifications. Let me give you guys a side note here. 50% of 8A companies never win a contract. Why? Because they're not doing what you guys are doing, right? They're not investing and taking the time to learn how to win contracts. They just think, oh, I heard from the SBA that I need to get a women-owned certification. I need to get 8A certified. And they go out there and 4 or 5 years into it and they quit. It's that it doesn't work. There's no opportunities in government market. Why? Because they don't understand the culture. They're not procurement ready. They're not coming to classes like you guys are. They're not learning. They're not infusing knowledge and learning how this game is played. So there's a lot of companies out there that have certifications. They just don't know how to win. So if you know how to win, you know how to write proposals, you know how to go out there and get procurement ready. They're not procurement ready. So you being procurement ready, you can leverage their certifications to bid on projects. So that's another great technique. Another, in terms of new in the government market, what you need to put in place to win contract fast, you need your business infrastructure. What is business infrastructure? Especially for new starters, right? Business infrastructure is your email address. Something as simple as your email address. It has to be a professional email address. It cannot be hotdaddyabe@gmail.com. I need to save that for my Tinder account, right? Hotdaddyabe should be for my Tinder account. In fact, I don't have a Tinder account, but I'm just save that for your Tinder account. If you are a professional, you need to have abe@govassociation.org, abe@govgenie.com. You need to use your domain name and your first name. Now, if you're a large company, you can use first name dot last name, but I don't recommend that because most people, anytime you put the dot and you put email there's typos and they may never get to you. So keep it simple, right? First name at domain name. That's part of your business infrastructure. You need to get e-verification, right? What is e-verification? Well, let me give you a few quick tips. Being procurement ready has to do with all these different steps here. So you say, well, what is e-verification? Yeah, I don't know if I have e-verification. Well, it's in here. If you come down here and you go through this is our checklist. This is our checklist. And you go through our checklist here, and it just takes you step by step and what you need to put in place. And you say, oh, you get to here and say, oh, step 70, e-verify. I need to get e-verify set up. You click on this link. All these links and resources are here already. And it takes you here. So let me explain to you what e-verify is. E-verify means this here, that the employees that you hire, the 1099 contractors that you hire, they have proper documentation to work in the United States. Why? There are some projects that if you send an employee or a 1099 contractor into a facility, only citizens can go into those areas. There may be some areas that somebody has to have background cleared. They have to be secret. They have to have secret clearance. They have to have top secret clearance, TSC, and all these different things here. So e-verification is part of the background check. Now you say, well, I have an HR company that handles that. That doesn't matter. Your company still have to be in the e-verification system because in the RFP requirement, it says, give us your e-verification identification number. And if you don't have that, you will be non-compliant when you're submitting the proposal. So this is part of getting procurement ready. And so this is just one example. of your business infrastructure. And there's many other examples of your business infrastructure. All of these things here, right? That's what we've been doing. This is, what we're like about 7, 8 weeks into coaching Vicky and her company. That's really what we've been doing, right? We've been talking about getting procurement ready, getting her business infrastructure together. So that's this step here. Build your business infrastructure. Make sure that you are doing it properly. And then step number 10, create a brand that's going to attract government buyers. You need marketing collateral. You need a website that's government friendly. You need capability statement. You need a capability video, capability brief. Start by being a specialist in the niche market that you're really good at. Yes, you want to brand your company as a generalist. You want to say, I can do many things. But you brand your company as a generalist, but you start by being a specialist. So let me give you an example, a practical example here. So this company here is again, I shared with you her contract award right earlier, but so let me pull up. So this is her company. Come on, it's right here. Okay, so this is Tasha. So Tasha started her company. It's called Visionary Construction. If you have the word construction in here, that means you can do construction. In fact, I just talked to another company too. They lost a contract. They did not, they submitted a proposal that they did not win, and they set up a debrief with the contract officer, and they said, hey, we just want to learn so that we can be better for the next time, so that we can support your agency. And this is what the contract officer said. The contract officer said, your name, your business name, made me think that you can do this type of work over here. So yes, your business name matters in the government market. And so they lost because of her business name. Well, so in coaching Tasha in her business, I said, Tasha, you're saying you want to do janitorial. You're saying you want to do other things, but your company says you do construction. That is not good in the government market. So we did a DBA. We rebranded her as Visionary Services. So now she's broader. She's bigger than what she can do. Her first contract was a renovation project for $26,000. Her second project was a renovation project for $78,000. Her third project was a project for $3.1 million, security guard, not construction, not renovation, security guard. So yes, it matters in terms of your business name, but that's really what we're talking about, right? So we are at the end. So I'm going to finish up with this here, and then we're going to wrap it up. You want to choose, yes, start by being a specialist, but brand your company as a generalist. And then choose a starting point, right? Should you start at the federal, state, county? There's over 85,000 agencies, and choose a starting point. You cannot do work for 85,000 agencies. Focus on your Dream 100. And if you come to class, we teach you how to build your Dream 100, and then get your finances in place. You win a contract, you need money to get started. About 10 to 20% mobilization capital is needed. So as you are winning contract, put in place have a strategy of how you're going to mobilize on that project there. So with that is our podcast for the day here. It's so excited to have all of you here. I'm going to show you how you're going to get a copy of this here. In fact, give me 1 second. I'm going to give it to you right now so that you don't even have to reach out to us. So I'm going to, for all of you that stay to the end, I promise you, right? I'm going to give you this list, the top strategies, short-term strategies of how to win contract fast. So I'm going to pull it up here, and I'm going to give you the link to it. And if you're watching this on replay, it will be in the chat as well, or in the description area. So let me pull it up. We've got lots and lots of resources, and we encourage you to come to some of our podcasts and classes. We have one podcast. We have three other classes every single week. So if you're interested in that, go to govassociation.org or govevent, govevent.com. No S on it. singular, govevent.com. And we have classes every single week. So if you enjoyed today, we got lots of other classes. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to give you guys the link, direct link to this strategy here. So, and okay, so I think we have one question. I will answer that question in 1 second. Let me find this here. Quick start kit. Let me find it here. Top strategy. Where is it? Maybe it might be in a different place. I have it in a few places, so that might be my article in here. So oh, I'm having a tough time finding this here, but I will find it. So let's look at the question. While I'm looking for this here, let's look at the question. Best short-term strategy. Okay, so. All right, so let's see here. The question is, what is BOFA, best and or BAFO? Is that what they say? Best and final offer. BOFA, that's Bank of America. But BOFA, BAFO is best and final offer. That acronym I am familiar with. Is that what they meant? If that was your question, yeah, best and final offer, yes. So let me share with you what is best and final offer. Best and final offer means this here, that when a contracting officer, you submitted a proposal, and the contracting officer said, "Hey, you know what? We've narrowed down." And they will send you an email or a letter saying, "Give us your best and final offer." That means you are probably the top five, the top three. Usually they narrow all the proposal down to the top three, and they will ask for a best and final offer from you. And then you would say, it's a form, and you would put in the form, our best and final offer amount is this. And my recommendation is you might want to come down a little bit, but if you already price it to win, you don't have to come down that much. But since you're the top three candidates, you might want to come down a little bit so that you can win, because they might come down a little bit also. So in that situation, you send that form back. You can just say, you could take the same amount of your original pricing and keep it as that, or you can say, uh, we will do a 5% reduction, and so this is the amount. So you don't want to put the percentage; you want to give them the actual dollar amount. And what that amount is. And so they will use that in consideration of who they choose for the award itself. All right, so let me copy this link and give it to everybody. I need to take a quick side note here, and for some reason, it is my download folders. I need to move this here into one of my folders so that I can specifically give it to you guys, the link to it. So that way it would just be a link and not necessarily a file. So, all right, here we are. I'm going to give you the Dropbox link. Where is I'll move my camera out of the way. What is going? Here it is. Okay. All right, so this is your bonus for staying all the way to the end. It's in the chat, and go ahead and download that for your own use. Uh, Please get back with me as you start to implement some of these rules here. Just let us know how it's coming for your business, and say, hey, this is, this technique is really working out well for us. With that, we are signing off on this webcast podcast here. Join us every Wednesday at 11:30 Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we will cover another topic. And for this weekend, I got some awesome news. I'm going fishing in Panama City Beach. If you are on the beach down there somewhere, look me up. Let's grab some lunch. If you are going down there, send us an email. We can hook up. If you want to come, we still have room. We have a deep sea fishing boat, specifically for government contractors. So if you are interested, we are open to taking on a few more people for this weekend, going down fishing with us. And go to our website, govevent.com, and you'll see the link to the fishing event. And we look to see you down there. And with that, you're one contract away. Keep going. Don't stop. Sometimes it might be discouraging. Sometimes you might have some naysayers. Oh, you can't do this here. But you're one contract away from your dreams, your goals, for the next car, the home that you want. Keep going at it. I will see you in another episode. Take care, everyone. Have a good one.